Probably be a sight.
Ryan Lewis, I read an article which stated that World War Z 2 was scrapped by Paramount due to budget concerns. Have you heard anything official about this? It's a bummer in my opinion, as I loved the first movie and I was super excited for the upcoming sequel.
You know, John? World War Z is an interesting film in the sense that it was one of those movies that it was a disaster. It was before, when they were trying to make that film, it was a disaster. They ended up redoing the entire second two acts. It blew up its budget, all this kind of stuff. They brought in a different director. They kicked out the director they had. They did all this kind of stuff. And it was one of the first times when you had that kind of chaos going on and the end result was good.
Yeah.
I thought World War Z was a good, solid movie, and they saved that film, and it ended up making over $500 million at the box office. It ended up being a legitimate hit, which has left a lot of us going, what's taken so damn long? Now, they said for a while what was holding it up was it Fincher that was supposed to be directing the new one? Is that who it was?
Yep.
That Fincher was just still hard at work on season 2 of Mindhunter. They said once he's done that, full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. And they were working on pre-production on the film, all that kind of stuff. Well, now apparently 3 months before filming is supposed to begin, they've pulled the plug. The reported reason they're saying is that the studio's gotten a little bit nervous over just how big the budget has ballooned. And I get it, because with all the drama of the last one, it's been so long since the last one, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that much back at the second time around. And they don't want to find themselves in the same situation that they did before. We don't know all the information. We don't know, was the money they were asking for to put into this movie unrealistic? Was it reasonable and the studio's just being cheap? Or is the studio not being cheap and they're just like, you are asking for way too much money for this, blah, blah, blah. We may never know. We may never know. But I do know this. If you're going to pull the plug on the movie, now's the time to do it. Not 1 week before production starts. So I'll tell you what, who knows? Maybe they get this movie going again. I personally hope they do at some point because, like I said, I liked the first one. And I would like to see where they go. And I'm a fan of Brad Pitt, and I love seeing him in these movies. I thought that was a good role for him. But right now, it don't look good. Robert, your reaction when you heard about this?
You know, I have a sort of a love-hate relationship with World War Z, the movie, because I'm a huge... Romero's original Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite films of all time, not just horror films. And Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son, wrote the book World War Z. And
I didn't realize that was Mel Brooks' son.
Yes, it's Mel Brooks' son.
I did not realize that.
And the book, I don't normally recommend books on tape. The book is nothing like the movie. It is a documentary approach to what they call the zombie war after the fact.
Right.
If you want to hear, if you guys like Walking Dead and you like zombies, the audiobook of World War Z is actors, some of them you know, playing the characters in the book, and each chapter recounts like different things that happened all over the world.
Right.
It is so good. And J. Michael Straczynski, who created Babylon 5, wrote the original World War Z draft that actually adapted the book, that they totally threw out. And the movie bears no resemblance at all to the original source material. And it really bummed me out because I love the book. And I love David Fincher. He's one of my favorite directors. He's such a perfectionist, and he's great with actors and great with camera. And I really was looking forward to this because I hated the movie when I first saw it, but then I kind of liked it if I divorced my mind from the fact that it was based on this book that I loved.
Right.
I came to it on its own terms. I mean, there's a lot to like in World War Z. And I wanted to see the sequel, and I wanted to see Fincher direct the sequel, and I'm bummed about this. I wanted to see it happen, but Paramount doesn't have a whole lot of money. They're kind of hanging on by a thread. They probably like...
And look, tightening the purse strings is what has kind of sidelined. And look, and I am all for studios acting more fiscally responsibly. I'm all for that, and I kind of admire that. That's what's going to keep you around a long time, but you're absolutely right, because we're seeing that play out with Star Trek. It's like, hey, we simply can't make these movies, guys. If you want to get paid that much, we can't do it. This movie's another example. I mean, they just had a bit of a windfall with Bumblebee, which good for them. That was great. But, I mean, they do got to be careful. You know, it is funny because I found a lot of the people I know who didn't like World War Z were ones that were also fans of the book.
Yeah.
And then I was somebody who never read the book, and I just watched the movie for the movie. I didn't have any pre-existing expectation. I just liked it for what it was. So it's really, see, you do what more film fans need to be able to do. You need to be able to see it in context and say, okay, now I'm going to divorce what I know about the property and just watch the movie for what it is. That's what more film fans need to do.
Well, it's interesting because adaptation is an art form. And there's still people that are bitching that Tom Bombadil wasn't in the Lord of the Rings franchise. And I'm like, look,
3
man,
hours
you gotta
wasn't
lose. You gotta lose something. And I think Tom Bombadil is an extraneous character in a movie version of that. Something's got to go. Yeah. You know, and I'm already waiting to hate HBO's Watchmen series. But Watchmen's one of my favorite. Watchmen's one of my favorite comics in the world, and I'm very curious about what they're going to do. If I divorce myself from the holy gospel that is Alan Moore's Watchmen, and then can sort of watch it on its own, I think that's a better way to live your life, to be honest.
All right, let's move on to the next email. What's next?
Yes, David Fincher is so good. I mean, every single The Game, Social Network. I mean, he did Seven. He's
Gone
incredible.
Girl. I watch The Social Network religiously. It's one of the most compulsively rewatchable movies ever, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it is.